Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello again. This is Sue Minahan of Talk Cosmos, leading edge conversations awakening the authentic self to empower soul growth. And today, because it is the 25th of September, right after the equinox, when that tuminal equinox, when the light balances on Earth very closely to again migrate towards the northern spot of the summer solstice, we also are having a full moon. And that full moon will be just 2 hours after this hour of our program. So it's a very exciting time. It's at 2 degrees and 49 minutes of Libra. And on the East Coast, it occurs at 5:55 p.m. On the West Coast, that's 3 hours earlier, 2:55 p.m. And if you were in Britain or parts of Europe, which is somewhat of adjustable, it's right at midnight, 11:55, because we have audiences here and there. And we appreciate all of you. And thank you so much for subscribing and keeping up with us with all our changes, because change is in the air. You will hear it today. Now, one of our focuses for archetypal symbols relates to the Sabian Symbols, which are archetypal, and they were created in 1925 with a clairvoyant, Elsie Wheeler, and the great late astrologer Mark Edmund Jones, not to be confused with Mark Jones. He'll be on with us with Planet Buzz, the new, well, I don't know if I should even say that, but it'll be on December 4th. So about Jupiter. But right now, these Sabian symbols have been interpreted many times. They give us spiritual emphasis. And astrology is everything. Humanity is everything. We are linear and we are symbolic and with metaphors. So with imagination, we are ready for archetypal symbols. Thank you.
Synthesizing the current archetypal new moon energies through weaving symbol systems such as Sabian symbols, numerology, Mayan novel energy days, or even tarot, connecting to the astrological data and concepts for planets and cosmos. This is your Archetypal Symbols panel.
I'm Sue Minahan, the founder of Talk Cosmos, an eclectic evolutionary astrologer, consultant, certified color energy life coach, vice president of the Washington State Astrological Association, member of Kepler Astrology Toastmaster Club, of a Dwarf Planet University diploma and AA with music degree. I love mythology, philosophizing, collaboration. I'm an artist, writer, a perpetual student of life.
I'm Elizabeth Liz Machette, a professional astrologer, intuitive, numerologist, and tarot reader. I'm a certified sacred healing counselor, providing nurturing, in-depth consultations for individuals and couples. I'm an author, blogger, speaker, and international Reiki master and teacher. I create safe space in which to explore the deeper patterns of your life, to clarify your current circumstances and help you find your best path forward.
And I'm Justin Crockett-Elsie, an archetypal astrologer, teacher, and author. I combine both Western ancient astrology and modern psychological astrology with Eastern Vedic astrology. And I specialize in predictive, electional, and karmic astrology for individuals and couples. I'm a certified aromatherapist, an essential oil specialist, and an herbalist, and I offer remedial modalities of plants for psychological life issues to empower clients with compassionate healing. I also do in-depth astrological research into arcane astrological concepts, focusing on the mystical, occult side of astrology.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift." And that's why it's called the present. Well, hello. Our present keeps changing, doesn't it? Yeah. I love it. Well, hi, Justin. Hi, Liz. Again, we meet to discuss this new moon, the time when the moon comes in front of the sun, blocks out the light, but it's at 2 degrees. Maybe we should talk about 2 for a while, shall we?
Sure. So the number 2, since we're at 2 degrees with the sun and moon, it's about harmony, relationships, partnerships. So that's exciting. And Justin's really embracing this new moon energy, because this is very powerful, because it's about, on a certain level, it's about beauty, and it's like changing a hairstyle. So it's like it's very obvious to everybody today. So he's right on time with energy.
Yeah.
Hey, new season, right?
It really is. And besides that, the equinox is one of my favorite times of year. I love the solstice and the equinox. And it's that balance, and it's a polarization, because we're going from south to north right now. Although being on the northern hemisphere, it's a little bit of most of us, that is, not everybody, but above the equator. But I think that's part of it, the polarity. Here, for those that are in the YouTube world with us at Talk Cosmos YouTube, or a little bit about the numerology of 2. There's a lot that's focusing on 2. There's the moon, as Liz brought up, is the second planet after the sun, and your Taurus, which is with Uranus and the North Node. You will see I give credits to Liz. She provides a lot of this good data, but we're all in tune with it. So it's really very evident of this partnership with myself eventually, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would also add in, we got the second house there, but I'd also add in the 7th house as well, because the 7th house rules relationships, partnerships as well.
Ooh,
so
I love that, because it's in the 7th house for the Eastern horoscope, I think. Yeah. Well, we'll have to check that. It was right. Okay. And then the tarot. Perhaps you both want to bring that up, discuss that a little bit, how it
Go ahead, Liz.
Well, the Justice card is number 11, or the 11th trump. And it's a master number, and it reduces down to the number 2. So it's like more energy of the season of being in the number 2. And it's also represented by the sign Libra, and we're in Libra energy right now. So it's all supporting each other, even though we're using different symbolisms to use.
And I know Justin has always very good information. He teaches about tarot as Liz does. But I know for myself that justice is law, and 7th house is law, and that's where you'll see. And Libra is the natural 7th house. So it really gives another strong message that this is to have justice. And when I think about it with the 2, that partnership is myself and the world, the universe, spirit. How am I aligning myself in anyway?
Right. And and not to leap into where we're going, but I was doing some stuff today. So I was reading some Egyptian mythology, and there's some concepts about how as we move into this new season, about balance. We're in that boat, like the pharaohs in the boat that went over to the other side. It's about balance and protection as you go into the new season, balance. And so anyway.
That's a good point, because I was reading for last week, because we were doing, it's all this archetypal time of Libra and Venus of the scales, because often for this tarot card, it's the strength card, it's, or I think is it strength card? But there's the woman. It's a different picture than what I have here, but I've found this. But the point that I'm making is that the Egyptians, Ma'at, M-A-A-T, yes, weighed the heart when you died to see if you were aligned or if you were corrupt, which also goes into that whole idea. And I love that idea too of the going across the river, because, later the mythology it was the Greeks and Romans have Styx, the river Styx, and you go to Chiron with the mythology of which is a different storyline, but still it's that emphasis that there's a passage. So,
and where you're coming in with the 8 card and the strength in some of the older traditions in tarot, they reverse the 8 and the 11, so that's you're bringing that energy in. But so more of a modern is the 11th trump, or the 11th card is justice. So that was my idea, to stay with that. So
okay, well, thank you for that clarity. If other people fall into that little impulse, and 11, the 2 ones of leadership, but master number. Okay. Did you have anything more either of you want to say with? Nope.
No, let's get to the new moon.
Oh, right. The Sabians. Okay, that just tells people, if you want to go back to it, about there we are. There's a chart. And generally with the East Coast, I'm bringing up the point that the new moon is opposing in opposition to Jupiter, which we will discuss. And that Jupiter happens to rule for this nation, our ascendant and MC, which has a lot to do with how we express ourselves and how we work with our social structures. And okay, shall we lead on?
So before we get into the new moon, we're going to start with the ascendant and the midheaven, right?
Okay, we can do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because and really that's, when we as we get ready to look at it, whenever you're, for anybody as a new astrology student, one thing you always want to look at first in the chart is that ascendant, and what is coming in that's going to inform the journey of that new moon.
I like it.
And on new moon charts, the part of fortune with the circle with the X in it is always conjunct the ascendant too. So,
good point.
Very good. Well, the ascendant is 7 degrees Pisces. This is for the East Coast, and 37 minutes, meaning that there's a lot of ways to look at the Sabians, which we're realizing. And one is that oftentimes the Sabians round it off. So it would be 8 degrees. However, there are studies that everything's an evolution. So it is in 7, and before 7, it was 6. And then after 8, if you round it off, it's going to be 9. So with some of these, we may go over 4 of them, and we can round them off. Because how would you like to start? Justin, I'll hand it to you.
Well, if Liz could start off with the 6 and the ascendant and tell us what she's got the notes there, right?
Yes, a parade of army officers in full dress.
And so
it says
that
dedication to the service of community. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's in Pisces, and then the 7 degrees is what, Liz?
Illumined by a shaft of light, a large cross lies on rocks surrounded by sea mist.
Okay.
It's spiritual blessings with which strengthens individuals stand uncompromising for your own truth.
Right. And then
do you want 8, and do you want all of them? Okay, 8.
Well, she listed them. I'm just curious. Go ahead.
Okay, a girl blowing a bugle, a call to participate in the service of race as an evolutionary crisis approaches. So that's sort of leading what the real Sabian is, I think, from what most people would refer. And 9, beyond that, a jockey spurs his horse, intent on outdisting his rivals, which is the interpretation of intense mobilization skill.
This ascendant really kind of reminds me of really sort of the archetype of the Piscean anyway, which is dedicating oneself to something greater. dedicating oneself to something greater in this life, that Piscean archetype, as we see in the beginning there with the rabbits are imitating others and getting in with a group, and that's how they're learning. And then we go into this cross aspect there, that it's we're called to a summons to dedicate ourselves to something better at this time. That's what I take from that. What do you take from that, Liz?
Well, I agree with you. But it also reminds me of how before we came on the show, we were talking about the outer planets being retrograde. It's like this energy's kind of building, and it's like we're kind of doing our inner work or doing the prep. And then it's like kind of like pushing us forward again. So that's what I want to add.
You guys are great.
Yeah, I agree.
This is very inspiring. I have certain projects. I mean, with Mars in Gemini, it's like, I don't think we're going to stop until through March. So should we look at the midheaven?
Yeah, the midheaven.
Okay.
Which is where we're trying to go to.
Yeah. And the midheaven, of course, is at the top of the chart, folks. It's 17 degrees Sag, 29. So we're going to do 16, 17, 18, and 19. And go ahead, you do 16, 17, I'll do 18, 19.
Oh, that sounds good. Seagulls fly around a ship in expectation of food. It's an acquired dependence of psychic desires upon the stimulation of social circumstances. And then 17 is an Easter sunrise service draws a large crowd, culturally stimulating, longing for group participation in a process of rebirth.
So the Sabian, if we rounded it off to 18, is of Sagittarius. Children playing on the beach, their heads protected by sunbonnets. And the interpretation, protection society affords to as yet immature individuals as they begin to deal with the powerful energies of their unconscious natures. That seems really significant. 19 Sag, where all that might be leading, pelicans menaced by the behavior and rough use of men seek safer areas for bringing up their young. And the interpretation, need for people concerned with the future to discover a new way of living and more wholesome surroundings. So, Justin?
Yeah, no, we look at Sagittarius as that constellation dealing with the collective, right? And our beliefs and where we're all getting along. And I find it interesting. I just realized that both of that first Sabian we read and the last one there have birds in them. Again, we always come back to the birds aspect, and it deals with the interdependence of relationship. The seagulls are interdependent upon the humans as they're doing that, and the pelicans are trying to protect themselves from the humans. So there's something about relationship, just kind of where we're going with this new moon here, about relationships and the collective. I don't know. What do you get from that, Liz?
Well, I got that we need food and we need other people. It's kind of like saying what our basic needs are, and if we meet those, and with the children, it was like that we need fun and joy too. It's like to have a well-balanced all-around life or way of being.
Yeah,
it is. Although I am so I could give accolades forever, but when I'm reading from this also to remind is that process of rebirth coming out of that. Of course, that's 17, but this idea of and psychic desire. So it's really, isn't it also incorporating the whole embodiment?
Yes, and then being out in nature too, because pelicans are usually by the sea, and so it like reminds me of out in the ocean or the seashore. All of this too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
to get outside and get fresh air.
Yeah, that partnership goes back again and again to the internal, which is that this, whether we call it psychic connection, because we have that intuitive, of what the signs are, it works.
Right.
Well, and feeding yourself in your relationship and not expecting the other person to fulfill it. It's like taking care of yourself and meeting your own needs, and then you can be more show up for a relationship.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
and that's where I was talking about that interdependence upon others, dependence upon others. You know, we were
Beautiful.
talking about that. Yeah,
I'm
cool.
Thank you. Well, here I put these here so that people could also. But here we have the sun, 2 degrees 49 sun and moon, Sabian symbols. So I don't know if we want to read that because it is the new moon, so that everybody gets it. And Liz, do you want to start off again?
Sure. A collection of perfect specimens of many biological forms. Butterflies displays the beauty of its wings. And a butterfly is immortal archetype. It's perfect in a dedicated life.
Yeah, that's good. Beginning.
And then 2 Libra is the transmutation of the fruits of past experiences into the seed realization of the forever creative spirit. Repolarization of inner energies leading to a creative centralization of consciousness.
And Justin, do you want to talk about, I mean, should I read the next 2 or did you
want
want
to read the next 2 and then we can all talk about them. Yeah, that
all
sounds
right.
good.
Okay. So for folks to realize 2 is where we're beginning, but it came from 1. 3 is where it's rounding off and 4 is where it's heading. So 3 is the dawn of a new day, reveals everything changed, meaning the possibility of beginning again on a new foundation of values. And where all this might be leading as the quest, as Linda Hill presents, around a campfire, a group of young people sit in spiritual communion. And the interpretation would be 1, I'd unite with kindred spirits as one enters unbeaten paths, illumined by the still, is it insecure light? Is that correct? Of a dawning intuition of new values. A lot of words. That's why sometimes putting this down. So I will back away. Thank you. Go ahead, Justin.
No, this kind of reminds me of what Liz was saying about all the outer planets being retrograde right now, kind of building up towards a change of cycle here, because, that first degree is about sort of, okay, what's my concept as we move forward into this new reality, this new phase or new season, whatever you want to say. And, what are my concepts about what that's going to look like for me for the next 3 months. And then Libra is about, okay, I'm getting ready and I'm going to repolarize or balance my inner energies to centralize and, set my intention and then the possibility of new values. And then, of course, being with like-minded others, back to relationship. So it kind of reminds me what you were talking about, Liz, sort of that buildup of, okay, I'm getting ready for a change. It's coming, and now it's happening, I don't know. What do you think, Liz?
Well, yeah, and to recognize our own inner beauty as much as because it's easy to recognize other people's inner beauty. And, that rebalancing, like you were saying, I mean, this is just beautiful and things are starting anew. It's like there's, this chart is like super powerful and stimulating for a new moon. It's like, to me, I want to call it like a super energized new moon, because I don't think we're having a super new moon, but to me, if that energy is just feeling really that forward movement, it's coming, and all the work we've done, it's like we have that support and energy behind us.
Yeah, the messages are echoing, replicating themes. And I often realize that it's plateaus and stepping stones, one new moon to the next. And of course, it relates back. There's all this relationship, if one looks at relationships, of course, phases of how it's moving. But this Libra, the new moon in Libra this year, I welcome that perspective, Liz, because, on the 8th, Saturn goes direct. On the 22nd of October, which is maybe a month away, but it's still, we have a whole new Venus star point cycle in Libra. So Libra and Venus are really becoming center focus. So for both of you to bring up the emphasis of the significance is power, and I love the word powerful. So thanks.
Well, and it's like, I want to say right relationships. It's like some relationships need a little polishing, a little bit of work. Some relationships are like maybe just too much effort, and it's really time to just not put all that effort into something that maybe isn't working anymore, and create new relationships.
I would just probably just say that's for people listening. If you really want to think about what we're really saying, is this sort of one of the huge themes here is relationship, like you're saying, Liz and Sue, and that this is a great time for new relationships, but also bringing balance and harmony in our relationships.
Did you want to go to Venus, which is conjunct, and Mercury, or to its opposition with Jupiter? Because Jupiter is opposite. Maybe we should do that. You think so? Or
well, I think we should do what's conjunct at first, but I'm okay either way.
Then let's do that. I asked, and I like it. That sounds good to me. All right, because they're in Virgo, but still it's just a few degrees away. So out of sign, but conjunct by energy. And Venus, of course, rules Libra. So it's a powerful
And Sue, before
connection.
We talk about that, maybe for people who are new to astrology, understanding that conjunct, that means they're within 10 degrees of one another, these planets. And so those energies are blending and affecting one another, that between Venus and the sun and the moon there, and Mercury.
Very good. And blending isn't always like making a cake where you just put or an omelet. I think about that because sometimes I think, oh, well, that's simple enough. No, it can be kind of chunky. They don't always see eye to eye. And Virgo, of course, wants refinement, which I think is one of the major words that we're bringing out. It discerns. Its purpose is to make more perfection, so that it can enter into these partnerships. I know Maurice Fernandez really teaches that particular perspective, which I think is common, but I give credit to.
I like to say, what kind of cookies am I making? Because I have a basic oatmeal cookie recipe, but am I putting raisins in it? Am I putting chocolate chips? Am I putting nuts?
Coconut.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, it's like, what am I going to make?
Right. I like it. Oh, those good days.
Okay. So 24 Virgo is the degree before Venus, Mary and her little lamb. Vibrant and pure simplicity at the core of one's being as one meets the many tests of existence. And then 25 Virgo, a flag at half-mast in front of a public building. Social acknowledgement of a job well done. 26 Virgo, a boy with a censer serves the priest near the altar. The first stage of actual participation in ritual of planetary evolution.
Yeah, so 27, because that's actually Mercury. So that 26 these are feeding into each other. Between Venus and Mercury, but it is a group of aristocratic ladies meet ceremonially at a court's function with the interpretation, the ability to carry a revered tradition in order to perpetuate cultural standards of excellence. Boy, we're working on that one, aren't we, as a group of society? 28 Virgo, a bald-headed man who has seized power, sheer power of personality in times that call for decision. It's always questionable. Well, okay, Justin and then Liz.
Well, thank you. This kind of reminds me of the word longing. There's this concept in some esoteric spirituality that nature and spirit underneath it all is all about longing. And this, the Venus is about affection and what we desire, and Mercury is all about in its head when Virgo and very logical, rational. It seems to be, like you were saying, Sue, this longing towards perfection and refinement and making things better right now. That kind of brings in here. And it's this sort of all talks about, being simplistic and, paying attention, not looking for perfection. And but sort of that dedication that Virgo wants to be of help to others. That little, we're talking about the service there and service to humanity with the religious aspect there in those degrees.
Ooh. Liz, you want to close it and then we'll take a little break?
Sure.
That sounds good.
The first one reminds me of pure innocence. The second reminds me of pain, respect. And then the third one at 26 Virgo reminds me of someone taking an initiation. It's like a growth. It's like if you went from elementary school to middle school, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And then as you mature, you get to celebrate with your friends. And the last one, it's just enjoying your accomplishments.
Oh, what a full spectrum story. Well, we'll see what happens next. So that's the energy talking to the new moon. That's the energy, folks, that we're kind of trying to all integrate with our ego and whatnot. So we'll come back and see what awareness we have. What's the perspective with Jupiter? All right. Thank you. This is Archetypal Symbols with Justin Crockett-Elsie, Elizabeth Mouchette, and myself, Sue Minahan. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the Yang period of Libra, ruled dually by Venus. By leaving the lower hemisphere of the self, the energy of Libra enters the arena where the completed self meets the other than self to form a relationship based on partnership. As a cardinal air sign on the descendant angle, represented by the equinox of equal light, Libra's energy learns through comparison and relationships, with the intention to integrate duality and polarities.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Whispering Dragon Center in Seattle, we cover the world of animals. This week, October 2nd, it's Shelter Rescue Sanctuary and anything that helps our animal friends Sunday. We'll check in with some of our regulars, Meow Cat Rescue and Seattle Dogs Homeless Program, plus a couple of new interviews, and we'll check in with the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga on Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Talk Cosmos brings you leading-edge astrological conversations with hour-long programs each week on KKNW. The show goes live every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on Facebook and YouTube, along with daily chats throughout the week on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you click like and subscribe buttons so you can get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or, if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. So, grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Talk Cosmos is celebrating its 6th season and has a special gift for everyone listening to the show, a free mini transit reading from your natal chart. This reading can help you discover your life path forward and make you aware of current opportunities and challenges. Talk Cosmos Kaleidoscope Visions panel invites you to participate in this learning experience and to interact with the astrologers reading your chart in 2023 during the monthly Kaleidoscope Visions show. To schedule your mini transit reading, send the show an email at info@talkcosmos.com and find more information about the panel at talkcosmos.com. We look forward to connecting with you for a free natal chart mini transit reading with the Kaleidoscope Visions panel, scheduled every 4th Thursday of the month at 1 p.m. Pacific on Talk Cosmos.
Alternative Talk 1150.
Oh, I love that. I just realized, though, I think it's every 4th Sunday, not Thursday. But that's okay. I've been listening to all those wonderful spots. I'm so glad to collaborate with an animal program there in Seattle, but she can just change that one word to Sunday. Well, okay, so let's go back to our slides. Thank you so much. We just now we're talking about Jupiter, because if we look at there it is, the slide, you'll see that in the 7th house and the 1st house, it's right opposite at 3 degrees with Jupiter. So we have all that new moon in partnerships that's trying to refine things and grow up at the same time.
Hey, Sue, before we talk about that, I was going to mention something that some people have been kind of seeing in the news, how Jupiter's at its closest point to Earth right now. And it has been in the last 60 years in its cycle. And so, just for people understanding that, that it's actually the Earth is between Jupiter and the Sun right now. So if we look at one direction, we see the Sun. We look at the other direction, there's Jupiter. And it's actually at its closest point to Earth right now in the last 60 years. So it's going to be pretty bright in the sky.
I love you bringing that up. The one planet, because I'm in a different condo just for a few weeks. When I go outside, there's Jupiter. Mm-hmm. It has been just really strongly present. I know that Gemini Brett talks to Jupiter all the time. So I'm trying to talk to Jupiter.
I've been going out and looking at Jupiter when we have the clear nights, which we've had some beautiful clear nights lately.
Yeah, and it's so strong. Oh, I appreciate that very much, because the sky is our ultimate astrology, and bringing that, personalizing it. Are you seeing it too, Justin? Have you gone out?
A little bit here on the peninsula. It's a little cloudy, so
it is. You're close to that
right.
Marine air. Well, thank you. So Jupiter in mythology is Zeus in Greek. It was the king of the gods. It's the biggest planet. All the others could smoosh inside of it. Expansion.
And I want to make another comment about Mercury with that the conjunction in Libra and Virgo there, that on the 2nd, I believe, October 2nd, Mercury stations direct. So, the 2nd and the 8th will have 2 planets that station direct. So it's, we're in that window of that energy shifting.
Darn, I can't blame Mercury anymore.
I know. Well, Mercury's going to be with Mars in Gemini. So Mercury's got a lot to say about all this as it changes in all its signs, which is something to remember, come to think of it, with Mars. It might still be in Gemini, but its little guide back there, Mercury, is going to be really changing the scene. Well, we are in the last half hour, and of course, we may not have time to bring up all of this, but this looks pretty quick. Jupiter, 3 degrees and 48, almost at 4 degrees Aries, and it's retrograde. It's heading back into Pisces. So on that path, it doesn't go direct until later in this month. So I think it's this month. So Liz, we'll roll on. 2 degrees. Go ahead.
Okay. 2 degrees Aries, a comedian reveals human nature, the capacity to look objectively at oneself and others. 3 Aries, the cameo profile of a man suggesting the shape of his country, sustaining power of the whole as the individual identifies himself with life.
So that's where it was at. We're at 3. It came before, and now it's there. And going ahead, the Sabians is 4 Aries, 2 lovers strolling on a secluded walk. And the interpretation, progressive polarization of energies to fulfill one's life function. Because you got to get along, right? That's the idea, I guess. And 5 Aries, where the quest is headed, a triangle with wings, self-transcending. So Justin and Liz, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I love this because Jupiter's just kind of reinforcing what we've all been talking about here, right? And just for the group, for those listening, understanding that Jupiter's archetype shows how we grow and expand. So that's that good fortune planet. And I love how it's giving us a technique here as we look at relationship, looking at objectively at ourselves and others as we get in relationship. And then, reevaluating our life as we move forward. And then again, I love this 4 degrees where it's talking about polarization of energies. We just saw that on the other side of the with Venus and that and the new moon actually was the new moon talking about repolarization of energy. So it's bringing our energies back into balance. And then ultimately we're going to transcend, what we're trying to do here.
Wow. Thank
And
you.
it's just, again, re-supporting what we've already been talking about. It's like we're almost talking about the same thing, even though we're going around the chart talking about different places. So,
yeah. And what comes to mind as you speak of Jupiter is that is our belief systems. So there is a really strong idea to make all this into a new belief system, which helps our values and whatnot. Well, then let's lead on.
Can I say one more thing about Jupiter?
Yes.
Because it is retrograding. Usually that means like Mercury retrograde means reevaluation. So Jupiter retrograde, same thing here, but a little bit of a delay. So it's giving us that period to get our stuff together before we go into the new cycle.
That's true. And it reminds me that often it's reassessing if we've lost or misplaced or hadn't focused on a opportunity so that we can bring that back in, which is a little different than that seems like a part of the process. And we're actually changing signs after a while. Yes.
Yeah. And I noticed, Jupiter in Aries, and I don't know what both of you think about this, but I've been noticing a lot, especially with people with something like Mars in Aries or other planets in Aries, that this touches that. It's really a period of time of new things getting going. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing a lot of people starting new businesses, new projects, but there's a little bit of delay here because we're reevaluating things before we start these. Because Aries is the sign of the entrepreneur, the starter, getting things going.
Yeah, Jupiter will go direct not until November. So it's 2 more months that it will go direct. Of course, it will be in Pisces before that, meaning that we'll have a chance to look at the wholeness or the oneness of it and get more imagination maybe with it, ideally. Go ahead, Liz.
Well, and, people like looking at their life with, in my opinion, with fresh eyes and making different choices. I had a client, she's moving back to Europe. She's lived in the United States probably about 35 years, and she's moving back to Europe. And, it was just all of a sudden she made that choice, that decision. It came up really quick and fast. And with Mars and Gemini, I think that's helping people to process things because it's a mental energy. I know the last time I wrote my blog post, I did 2 in one evening, and it went pretty quickly. So it's like I'm, kind of on that wave of that help with the mental processes.
Yes. So let's see. I bring up the chart once in a while so that people can see it again. We're here. And as you bring up Mars in Gemini is near the bottom of the chart, is right at it's a lot about our foundation of nation, nationally, as we relate to our nation and our whole society, right? So it's powerful that way.
Well, in Mars and
Mars
is trying to Saturn, and it's I call them the bad boys because in traditional astrology they're the malefics, but they're playing well together. So,
well, Mars is very okay. We'll get right into that because here, looking at this chart, Mars has 2 aspects. It's in that square with Uranus, which it was exact last year and will be in the same degree for the first 12 days of October, very shortly. And it is also trine, as you say, in a supportive, not a tension-oriented, trying to resolve something with the old and the new, which we'll get into those, but also working progressively with this energy with Mars. So let's look at
but it's Saturn that's square Uranus, and Saturn is trine Mars. You said it backwards.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Correction.
And I was going to point out that Mars trine Saturn is really giving everybody this great discipline and effort right now. We got it's in 2 air signs, Gemini and Aquarius. So they're, and the Mars or the Saturn's bringing that discipline and that resilience and effort towards what Mars is wanting to accomplish right now. So this is really a positive thing towards effort and action.
Well, maybe we should just do a couple here with Mars, but it's 18 degrees and 13 seconds in Gemini at this moment. Of course, it's going to stay in Gemini all past the spring equinox. We're going to go through the winter solstice, all through the new year. We have a long experience and journey with Mars in Gemini. We'll know a whole lot more in the months to come. Because right now it's just forging on. It hasn't done its retrograde, which it will much later in the year. So maybe we should just read.
Make it short.
Yeah. Okay.
So 17 Gemini, head of a robust youth charges into that of a mature thinker. 18 Gemini, 2 Chinese men converse in their native tongue in an American city.
And 19, which is the Sabian, a large archaic volume reveals traditional wisdom. And 20, the quest where we're going, a modern cafeteria displays an abundance of food products of various regions.
So that I see this Sabian symbol about this. These 4 here usually comes up as really very supportive of that Mars and Gemini towards learning and towards reading, learning, teaching, communications is really powerful. And it seems to me it's kind of showing where a person, this is a good time to grow and mature as far as what we're trying to do. And that one about the Chinese men, I see that come up a lot of times when we are going into new situations and using past experience. We've got the knowledge in order to do what we need to do right now.
Awesome. I love it. Let's do the next Saturn. Is that next? Or there we go. So 18 Aquarius, a man's secret motives are being publicly unmasked. In 19 Aquarius, a forest fire is being subdued by the use of water chemicals and sheer muscular energy.
Yes, and for folks, Saturn is at that 19 degree, 11 minutes of Aquarius, and it's retrograde for a while. So at 20, the Sabian, a large white dove bearing a message. And the quest where it's all headed, 21 Aquarius, a disappointed and delusioned woman courageously faces a seemingly empty life. Well, there's a lot to listen here. Thank you, Justin, and go ahead.
I'll just say really quickly, this is, I actually have one of my own planets at this port, but so this really gives a period of, it just, a lot of complex information about intention and what our perspective is about where we're going forward. I don't know. What do you think, Liz?
Well, I like how you said it, and it's like if you have secrets, they might be exposed.
Yeah. Yeah, true. It's like quite literally. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to Chiron, it looks like. So Chiron's at 14 degrees of Aries in 40 minutes. What are we doing?
My apology. I sometimes me and technology a little bit mixed up.
She clicked the mouse.
I did. Okay, so we're leaving Saturn. I think we're doing Uranus. Is that what we're doing? Because it's all tied in, right?
Okay. I think we should.
All right.
So Uranus is at 18 degrees and 30 minutes of Taurus. So we'll start with 17, the degree ahead. A symbolic battle between swords and torches. And then 18 Taurus is a woman airing an old bag through the open window of her room.
And 19, where we're at, a new continent rising out of the ocean. I know we've been doing this one for quite a while. And 20, the quest. I'm reading ahead. Wisps, the quest, wisps of wing, like clouds streaming across the sky.
Well, this, and I'm curious what you think, Liz, but this just, and Sue, it just tells me that we're just, again, continuing to go through change and evaluate our resources and how we're dealing with our resources with Uranus. And this just kind of gives us some underlying psychological concepts for going through that process with Uranus and Taurus.
Yes, we're absolutely moving forward. No going back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, this is important, and I thank you. And I'm realizing it's in another context, because it's in the context of the whole sun, that whole backbone, because Venus is also the ruler here, which is also the ruler of the North Node. Taurus, and also of Libra, because Venus rules 2 signs. So really, this change, although it seems like it's listening more to Saturn's discipline, well, we'll lead on to the next, and we'll look at, here's our chart again to get a reference of where we're at, so that, and of course, wherever we live, it's going to be a little different, because this, but this is for the national. So the next one is Chiron. There we go.
So Chiron's at 14 degrees and 40 minutes of Aries. So 13 degrees of Aries, an unexploded bomb reveals an unsuccessful social protest. And 14 Aries is a serpent coiling near a man and a woman.
15 Aries, a Indian weaving a ceremonial blanket. And I don't think we have the other one. So that's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think the reason we were going to look at Chiron is because it's actually what I say trining the Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. So we're seeing a lot more people right now dealing with healing emotional issues. And so that's why we brought that in. Didn't really have any comments on the Sabians on that. What about you, Liz?
It's just that, maybe if we were going with a certain cause, it's time to maybe reevaluate and see if we're if we're still passionate about whatever that cause may be. And the serpent coiling near a man and a woman is kind of interesting. It reminds me of be cautious of who you associate with, be cautious what you belong to. Doesn't mean that you can't belong, but just kind of be aware of what's going on. So, and then I like
that. Oh, I was just going to point out that reminds me of relationship right there.
Mm-hmm.
Back to relationship.
Yeah, and I think too, this whole idea that if we're healing, that there is this basis, because if we look at the chart, and I think we only have a few minutes, so we're not going to really go into Black Moon Lilith. That's okay. I'm going to skip that. But here it is for people if they look at it, and also to give reference of how to get a hold of Justin and Elizabeth and myself and our channel, and if you want to subscribe. So I think we can finish, take away those slides now. Nathan, thank you. Now I could look at my friends here. Yes, it's really an energy where relationship in every direction, isn't it?
Liz, and Liz, you were going to say something before we cut you off there. What were you going to say?
Well, it's just new beginnings. Do your new moon rituals, whatever that is, whether it's to write something down, whether it's to light a candle, whether it's to go outside and look at a star. I think it's really a good idea to do some kind of ritual or ceremony, and it can be 30 seconds or it could be 30 minutes. It doesn't really matter. It can be simple or in depth, but this is a powerful season, the autumn and the Libra moon this time. So do something, please.
I'm glad to hear that. That's right. Always with a new moon. Justin, you have...
No, I agree. Okay. I couldn't add anything more to that. That's a great reminder.
Yeah, it is. When I look at Uranus, suddenly I see a battle symbolic between swords and torches. It says, refusal of depending on the past, that the seeker turns a warrior, but it's like a spiritual warrior, right? And it's that warrior and strength to find the courage within, to pursue and really be excited. Try to be excited, which is like, yes, there's great options and opportunity. Well, it's such a pleasure. Thank you, Justin Crockett, Elsie, and thank you, Elizabeth Liz Mouchette. This is Talk Cosmos, Archetypal Symbols. We'll be back in a month, and you can always connect, and we'll continue. And next time will be the eclipse season. So there's a lot here to enjoy autumn before the lights go out.
See you next time.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests connect soul growth patterns with the energetic cycles of astrology. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.